deserve. And so today, there's not going to be a credit repair lesson today. What we're going to do is we got my buddy Erik Butzek on here from FinTech Mortgage, and we're going to talk about mortgages, and we're going to talk about how your credit affects your ability to get a mortgage, things about your debt to income ratio, etc. So, hey, Erik, welcome aboard. If you want to just introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about what you do.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you very much, Brian. It's a pleasure to be on here with you this morning. As you said, which is absolutely right, my name is Erik Butzek. I am Vice President here at FinTech Mortgage Association. Some of you folks out there in the greater Tampa area may have heard of us. Some of you guys may have not. We're about a 5-year-old company now, and we are a direct mortgage lender, but we are also a mortgage brokerage. We're centered out of St. Pete, but we have offices in Tampa and out in Lakeland as well. And I've been working with you, Brian. Gosh, it's been a couple of years now with the credit repair side. Sticking a few clients over to you and letting them help. And gosh, I'll tell you the best thing I think that you do is the free consultation for folks, because everyone's always spooked, about, oh gosh, credit repair, how much does it cost? What am I going to do? And they love the consultation. So I am thrilled to be on here today, talk a little bit with you about just some programs and options that are out there for people, how things like credit and debt to income ratio impact not only mortgage lending on the whole, but for clients, how they can get pre-approved. Because that's what most folks are coming to us for that. They want to get pre-approved for a mortgage loan so they can get shopping.
All right, so let me ask you this. So obviously, my job is to get charge-offs and collection of people's credit reports. That's my number one mission, is that. We have, getting student loans removed can be difficult. Probably one of the toughest things in the entire United States is student loans for anybody. It eats people up with debt, and you're not going to get it off your credit report. You may get, if you've had late payments and all that, we get late payments and stuff removed. But the bottom line is we get people that $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 worth of student loan, and we can turn that to positive trade lines for them. It takes time. It takes about 8-9 months to turn that around. It doesn't happen overnight, but we can. We can't get there, we can't get those late payments and all that removed. But then what remains is that large lump sum of debt. We can't make debt go away. I wish we could.
So do I.
So tell me, like, when we get there, let's say we get all their collections cleaned up, and we get their student loans turned around to where now reporting as a positive trade line, but they still have $60,000, in student loans. So how does that affect their mortgage process?
This is a great question, and we deal with this often. It's changed a lot throughout the years, so I want to be pretty clear about this. I get a very similar response or a very similar question from a lot of clients and a lot of realtors that come to me about their clients. And a lot, they'll say, oh, hey, yeah, sure, I've got $100,000. So it's just, big round number. I've got $100,000 in student loan debt. But hey, it's all deferred. It's income-based deferment or whatever it is. And so I don't pay on it. So we don't even need to worry about it, which of course you can imagine that's of course not the case. It's still a large debt that somebody owes. So in general, the best case scenario, which we really don't see very much right now, is that somebody has a student loan, however many accounts it's broken into, and they're making their standard monthly payments. That is the vast minority of situations that I see right now. Most folks are either on a repayment plan where they're paying a lesser amount, or they're just completely deferred. And those can be they usually are two very different scenarios, because on a payment plan, you can get pre-approved for a mortgage if you are paying on your student loan. The key, of course, when you talk as a client to your servicer, is that you're making a fully amortized payment. So we have clients all the time that will get onto a repayment plan solely to get pre-approved for a mortgage. Well, why? What's the difference between this and the deferment? Well, with the deferment, if you have a lot of student loan debt, especially, depending on the situation, what's going to happen is an underwriter, or me as a loan officer, when I'm pre-approving your file, I have to take a percentage of your overall balance and count it against your monthly debt to income ratio. So in some cases, you're looking at even 1% of the overall balance. And that can be a huge payment to add into somebody's monthly debt to income ratio. If you had $600 or in some cases it's $1,000 is 1%. You add that into somebody's debt to income ratio, it's a 180. So we see this a lot, and it has a huge impact on what clients can get pre-approved for.
Yeah, so I want to just put that into like simple numbers. So if they had $50,000 in student loan debt, whether it's deferred or they're paying it, let's say it's deferred, you basically have to count $500 per month into their debt to income ratio.
That's exactly right. Now there are other scenarios that you can even see there's some that'll even be like a 0.5%. But in general, what I like to do, I like to go with the most conservative look first. I give it 1%. And then depending on what sort of loan scenario, whether it's FHA, or conventional, it can change that. But you're right. Somebody has, it's a great way to look at it. Nice big round numbers. If you have 50 grand in student loan debt that's all deferred, you may have up to $500. You can almost call it debited. You're not actually paying it, but an underwriter, when they're calculating your monthly debt to income ratio, they have to count that number against you.
Yeah. So what currently, is the debt to income ratio that you're working with? What's that percentage?
Great question. I don't want to say it's that complex, but I think it's one of the more confusing things for people who are not in the industry is that there is no hard and fast black and white number. There are more, it's really realistically what they literally call guidelines. There are guidelines. It's kind of like the white lines on the road. You're just sort of trying to keep it inside of here. So let me give you kind of the best case scenarios, though. And what we usually see is that for a conventional loan, most people can have a monthly debt to income ratio of up to 49.9%. Now, there's always compensating factors. How do the scales weigh out? If you have a really high debt to income ratio and you have almost no money in the bank and, your credit scores are low, it might be tough to get approved. But if you have an 800 credit score, and you have 50 grand in the bank, you've got a really great cushion, a lender is not going to bat an eye at approving you with a little bit of a higher debt to income ratio. Okay. So again, for a conventional, I guess I should say the magic number for conventional is to be under 50. And for folks that need a little more cushion, there are FHA lending programs. And FHA allows us to go up to 55. In some cases, we can even go a little bit higher than that. It all depends, again, on the compensating factors for a client.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's all good. Because I get these kind of questions, from my clients. I don't always know the answers. So this is helpful for me. One thing I know is I'm not going to pretend to be a mortgage expert, and I don't expect you to pretend a credit repair expert.
I am not.
And to be a real. So let me ask you this then, as far as like not student loans, but collections, because obviously, collections kill somebody's credit score.
Yes.
And that's our job, is to make collections get them off their credit report. But if we got somebody down, where they had 10 collections and we got, say we got 9 of them, on, and they went from like say a 575 and now they're at a 690 collection. But they had this one collection that we just can't get rid of, and that collection just happens to be a big one, like $10,000 Capital One card that's in collections. How does that number also go against their debt to income ratio?
It does. Absolutely. So, and to be honest with you, in a lot of cases, it's going to have an even bigger impact than that. So here's how, and again, this is another tremendous question. I can tell you get these questions because these are the ones I get kind of most often from clients too, or they're the biggest causes of confusion. So when it comes to collections, almost always I can tell a client, if you have active collections accounts, you can wipe a conventional loan right off the table. You're just not going to qualify for it. Now, there are, of course, like everything else, there's small exceptions. So if your collections are medical in nature, you can have a certain balance that can be forgiven, and you might be able to get approval for a conventional. But it's unless it's medical, you can't even look at conventional anymore. So you're already putting yourself into the FHA window, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with an FHA loan. They're a great product, and they're really well suited for their market. But when it comes to FHA, just because they allow you to have collections Doesn't mean it's a free-for-all, of course. So what's the scenario? If you have an open collections account, and I just did a pre-approval for a client yesterday where I dealt with this, no matter what it is, it could be an automobile, it could be a credit card, it could be anything. But you have to take 5% of the overall balance of that collection and count it against their debt to income ratio. So that's a big number.
Wow.
You know, we're talking student loans. Yeah, student loans, we're talking 1%, you know. With
Right.
this, you're looking at literally 5%. So to kind of use big numbers like you were saying before. Now, the nice thing is when we see collections, we usually don't see a $50,000 collection account. You know, student loans, I might see six figures. Who knows? But let's say a really big collection might be 10 grand. Sure, there's ones that are bigger than that, obviously. But that would be, you know, a pretty large collections account. So in that case, if somebody had $10,000 collection, we'd have to charge or take away $500 and put that towards their monthly debt to income ratio. So it's a really significant number. Granted, we have a little more leeway, like we talked about with FHA, where debt to income ratio can go up a bit, you know, usually to 55. But still, if you're adding in extra collections, it can really muddy the waters for people. So again, magic number here, 5% of an overall balance, and it's only with FHA. You're probably not going to get into a conventional. That's just not the way things are set up right now.
All right, this is great information. So I got a couple more questions for you about this. Let's go back to don't let me forget. I want to talk about late payments, but I want to talk about a charge-off. Because it's not unusual for us to find somebody that has a charge-off, and in theory, every charge-off should have a zero balance. Because if it's charged off, they charge it off. What's common is to see a charge off, have a zero balance, and then a collection that goes along with because they sold the debt. And then we collection deleted from the charge off is hanging there. So they've got a charge off that's got a zero balance. The collection gone. How does that affect the process?
So things like a charge-off, that's a unique scenario, I will say, especially because more often than not, when I see the charge-offs, like you just said, a lot of times, you know, it's something where it has been sold over to another company. And a lot of times it will be reflecting a balance. So if it is, that's going to spell trouble for somebody because it's going to look just like a collections account. You know, it's going to show something with an outstanding balance. However, we do see the scenarios where somebody, you know, it'll show, oh, they had a charge off on their credit. Okay, great. But it'll show, just like you said, $0 balance. And I see plenty of those as well. In that scenario, as long as it shows a $0 balance, that there's no outstanding debt to you, that will not necessarily stop you from getting a mortgage loan or from getting a conventional mortgage loan. Again, with the conventionals, it really is about having those active collections. So if you have a traditional charge off, $0 balance due, that will not necessarily prohibit you from getting a conventional loan.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Actually, I didn't know that. All right, next question, late payments. Because late payments, you know, what we get people in our world, you know, we tell like we're like a 30-day late that's over a year old is really probably not affecting your score, and it's probably not that big of a deal. A 90-day late, you know, a 90 or greater, I mean, those affect your score for a full 7 years. It takes 7 years to get over a 90-day late. Those are painful. And obviously we see a lot of those. Let's say somebody's got, you know, I guess I've heard, you know, different stories like you can't have any lates within the past 12 months. Or, you know, we do see people that have 90 days and they were 2 years ago. We know for a fact it's still hurting their score. But how does that affect them in the mortgage process?
Good question. And this is one, again, that, you know, I hate to kind of keep saying it, but this sort of does have degrees as well, because it's going to depend, like you just said, on when a delinquency was, but it also depends what the delinquency was for. So if you have a scenario where you missed you got a Visa card through, whatever your bank is, well, maybe you missed 2 payments in the last year. Well, it's going to affect your score, maybe not kill it, but it's not going to help your score. It's going to bring your score down. So that obviously hurts your chances of approval, but that doesn't mean you can't get a mortgage loan. The decreased score is going to hurt you, but just having missed a payment or 2 on a credit card or something else doesn't necessarily mean you can't get a loan. The key is, Like I just said, though, it's what you missed. Credit card, something else, you can get around that. An auto loan, well, it's going to probably have a bigger hit on your score potentially, but you can probably get past that. When it comes to the mortgage industry, the first thing that's really looked at and taken into consideration is, have you missed any mortgage payments?
Yeah.
If you currently own a home, if you missed any in the last year, it's very difficult to get approval. It's not impossible. We can get approval for clients who have missed. And in the last 2 years, they're going to look at that as well. So, the big thing I always think of for folks is I always try to remind people, and I'm sure you do this as well, anything on your report that's active or in the last 7 years, it can impact your score. It doesn't mean it has to prohibit you from doing something or getting something. Brings your score down, your rate might go up on whatever loan you're getting. It doesn't mean you can't get approved. So for all clients, though, I would tell them, timely payments are awesome. They're extremely important for your credit. They are not essential for a mortgage loan. And the biggest thing, again, to think of is, if you've had a mortgage loan in the past, delinquencies on that are what's really going to hurt you.
Yeah, the biggest part of the credit pie chart, 35% of your credit score is made up of timeliness of payments. You miss one, I can guarantee you miss one payment and it reports to the credit bureaus, you're looking at a 100-point drop. I can guarantee it. If you have one payment, one credit card or car payment, whatever, and it goes 30 days late and it gets reported. Now, when you catch it back up, your score is going to rebound. It's not going to rebound all the way.
No,
it's not.
Yeah,
it's not. And if it's a 30-day late, 12, 18 months, you're going to recover from one 30-day late. But like I say, boy, 90-day late, man, it's going to haunt you for years. So
sure, that's a pattern. 90-day late is a pattern, so that hurts.
Yeah, the 90 days hurt. Those are killers. We full time. I can tell you, getting collections removed is easier than getting late payments removed. Late payments are sometimes, right. Sounds shocking, but collections are easier than late payments to get removed. Obviously, the older late payment, the better. Like, just pay your bills on time. I tell people this all the time. Just number one, pay your bills on time. Two, don't go over 30% of your credit usage. Preferably stay at 0% of your credit usage. So I'm assuming like credit usage absolutely hurts your score. Does that in the mortgage process too?
Technically, well, here's the thing. Anything does affect you. It's just, how does it affect you? I wouldn't say that's a direct correlation. However, when you think of two factors that are going to come from that, if you really high credit utilization, your bills are going to go up, your minimum monthly payments, because that's what gets counted on your credit report. Some people don't know this, and it's worth just saying real quickly that your debt to income ratio, I don't want to say that nobody cares, but an underwriter doesn't care about your rent. They don't care about your cell phone bill, your cable, that kind of thing. Utilities, they don't even look at them. Your debt to income ratio is only made up of your gross income, so your income before taxes are taken out of it, and then weighed against that, again, are your expenses, but they're only ones that come off your credit report, and they are minimum payments. So for someone like an automobile loan, that's just going to be a set payment, most likely over a period of time. Student loans may fluctuate a bit depending on deferments and payment plans. Credit cards, as anybody who's old enough to have one would know, the payments can fluctuate huge because it depends on how much of the card you've used. If you have a $10,000 balance, your minimum payment is going to be high. Whereas if you have a $500 balance, your minimum payment might be $35. So again, there's really that two-pronged effect. When utilization is high, means your bills are going to be higher. So it's going to hurt your debt to income ratio. And aside from that, it's going to bring your credit score down. That's the even bigger piece. So with mortgage lending, there's so much gray area. There's a lot of things that, if this, then this, or if that, then a lot of stuff can change. There's one thing that to me is just always black and white, and it's credit. If you don't have a 580, well, anything below that, it doesn't meet the FHA guidelines. 580 to 620, okay, that's, you can get FHA there. 620 is the minimum for conventionals. If you're under that score, that's it. You can't say, well, what if I put down 20%? Doesn't matter. What if I have 100 grand in the bank? Doesn't matter. It's just there's certain lines that are just right there. They're demarcation lines you can't get past. So, credit is a really important thing when it comes to any lending, but to mortgage lending especially, because you can get a loan with great credit. If you don't have any money in the bank, you can get a gift from your parents. Not everybody can, but somebody can. You don't need to have money.
Right.
You can get a gift. You can find down payment assistance. There's always a way around things. There's no way around your credit. It's where it is, and you can fix it or you can damage it, but it's the one piece that is hard and fast all the time.
Boy, that's a powerful statement right there. But I understand, because obviously I'm in the credit industry, so I know, that's why I'm in business, because people
yes,
people don't have any idea where to start on how to fix their credit. They don't understand credit. They don't understand how to fix it. It's kind of like the same thing as people going to H&R Block to get their taxes done. Anybody can do their taxes. Anybody can also anybody can fix their credit too. But they don't know how. And like people don't know how to do their taxes. They go to H&R Block. Doing a 1040 is not that hard, but people go, because they don't want to deal with it. And that's the same thing with repair. But anyway, so that was awesome. That was awesome information. That was good. I can share this video with a lot of people to get this kind of information out there. I'm going to keep this one in my back pocket because you educated me a lot. So if people need to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to read it?
Absolutely. So instead of spelling out my email address, because that's just a little bit too difficult, I will throw up here best way to get in touch with me. I do have a cell phone that is explicitly for business use in my business line. So phone number for me, 813-566-2233. But also, I will throw out there for FinTech Mortgage Association. To find us on the web is easy. Of course, you can always just search the company right here on my shirt, somewhere over here. There we go. FinTech Mortgage Association. Nice and simple and easy. But our site is www.finmay.com. That's F as in Frank, I as in India, N as in Nancy, M as in Mary, A as in Alpha, E as in Echo.com. So feel free to check us out anytime. Brian, of course, I know you have my number and you're always welcome to reach out to me with any questions or concerns. But if any of your clients ever need any assistance, need any help with mortgage loans, or just some scenarios and advice, my team is always happy to help.
Got it. So, all right. I appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us to educate us on this. This is going to show up on Facebook too. I'll tag you in the post. And if you can go and type in your contact information in the comments of that as well. That'll take about 5 minutes to get. But anyway, we'll sign off now. Thanks, Eric, for coming on with some information. In Credit Solutions, as always, peace, love, and good credit. We love you guys. We want to put you on house. That's what we're in business for. So thanks a lot, Eric.
Take it easy, Brian. Good to see you, man.
Bye.